Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, fashion divas. If this is the first time you are here, welcome. A warm welcome to you. My name is Esther, and on this channel, I do weekly fashion videos on whatever is going on in the fashion space. So, we are actually finally officially done with Fashion Month. Yay! So this spring summer, it was very subdued. It was very low energy. There were a few breakout collections, but nothing was really capturing my attention and capturing the zeitgeist. As always, you're gonna have the same. By capturing the zeitgeist, I'm personally meaning the online zeitgeist. We all know that for luxury houses, most of their sales come from perfume, leather goods, other licensed items with the brand name, so the collections aren't really the main generating income, the main bread and butter for a lot of brands. So sometimes what you see on the runway, it is just a reflection of the brand's creative identity at the moment. It's just a nice marketing tool. It's nice to be a part of the conversation, but then more and more it's become less about what the buyers will think, what the fashion journalists are going to think about the collection, and it really is about what myself, the consumer of media, of fashion celebrity media, is going to talk about. Who is going to be the most talked about designer, who's going to have the most talked about collection once it's all said and done. And that is based off of what high fashion Twitter are talking about. So a few years ago, when Sandy Liang burst out on the scenes with bows and the sort of femininity, fragility, colours, in a way that became the talking point. So a lot of brands probably wanted to jump on their version of bows just because they wanted to be a part of the trending conversation. But this season, I just haven't really seen a big trending conversation in what we've had over the past few years. So it's also quite hard to predict what that is going to be and what people are going to be talking about. I think we are done with high fashion Twitter personally being a voice. I think we've really reached the pinnacle of all that could be, and now we're going to see what kind of content creation around speaking about fashion is going to evolve into. I do see a resurgence of the bloggers from the past, but in a different way, more independent media talking about things, more separate subcultures, because we've all become globalized through the internet, when we all have our own individual point of views and stories, and we're now probably going to go back into those little rooms again. More subcultures, less globalized general popular pop culture information. That's my personal takeaway. And a few other fashion headlines that I want to talk about. So I've seen a few high street brands now were having creative directors, or having high fashion people create collections for. So one would be Uniqlo, now having Claire White Keller be the creative director for Uniqlo. I've owned some of her pieces from the Uniqlo collaboration that she's done. They were very Uniqlo is my go-to for really good high street pieces, everyday basics that I could wear. So would be interested to see what this creative collaboration does for Uniqlo and for Claire White Keller, and how it would potentially work for other designers too, who will use their name, their influence, their creative identity to inject some coolness and clout into fast fashion brands who have got bad names to themselves. Also, another one was Zara releasing their collection with Stefano Pilato, with Giselle Bundchen being the model. I really don't like Zara as a fast fashion brand. I think Zara has sort of ruined our ability to really develop our own personal style through actually styling ourselves and enjoying that process, because you walk into Zara, whatever's trending off the runway, they already have ready for you to pick out and put on, and then you're like, yay, I'm wearing it. So I've personally stopped shopping in Zara, but that may change. I may go back in, but for now I've kind of stopped shopping it. But the collection looked good, really really great pieces. There was a really nice long line like blazer jacket that they had. Everything was pretty much all in black. And another thing as well was looking at Shein, who started doing collaborations with smaller designers and smaller, more independent brands who probably would need that cash injection, number one, and also that collaboration too. So I'd be interested to see, and I wouldn't be surprised if Shein starts also doing collaborations with, in the same way Zara has done, in the same way Uniqlo has done with Clear White Keller. So let's see how that plays out though, because Shein is one of the ones where I personally have never bought anything off Shein, because I just wasn't of that generation to spend so little on clothes, because there's always been Primark, there's always been other high street fashions that you could buy things in person, and I like quality. Even if I'm getting something from a fast fashion brand, I still like a certain level of quality to the piece. So I personally have never shopped there, never desired to shop there, but I do understand for other people it's affordable, and for their own reasons they want to shop there. For instance, if you are a plus size person, it's very hard to get good stylish pieces in H&M and Zara in any kind of, they're not as readily available. So if Shein is offering you that option, you know you're going to take it. But that's just my opinion to see that. I don't think it will be a good thing for fashion if Shein manages to tap into these amazing designers and to do collaborations with them. I just don't think that's the best way to go. So the final fashion roundup that I want to talk about, maybe more, but the one that's come to mind is looking at the slow and sad death of the multi-brand retailer store, online e-tailer and retailer as well, and how that's going to be really also affecting smaller brands, leading back to why Shein collaborating with the smaller brands is something that I'm dreading, but maybe the only option for these smaller brands to stay in business, because the multi-brand retailers that would normally stock them, especially the e-tailers, are closing. We have, Matches is gone. I think I read news that My Teresa recently acquired Yuke's Net-a-Porter, like a big share of that. So that's letting you know the direction of what these brands are going, these massive e-tailers. Farfetch has always been a really great space for independent brands as well to thrive, and that's gone through its problems. So what is the future of multi-brand retailers? Because a lot of fashion, smaller independent brands rely on doing wholesale to these bigger brands. It's great to get their product out there in a trusted way, because a consumer is going to discover their brand more than likely through shopping on these platforms than in person. There's a lot that they can gain out of it, and it's the best way to scale your brand, because outside of that, how else can a smaller brand scale without the option to scale at large, without these platforms to help them get their foot in the door? Because you can always shout direct to consumer. That's really hard to do. It's really hard to do to scale with the cash flow that you need in order to do that, and it's just not always feasible for many brands. And these retailers offered brands that initial input, that initial space, that door. Also looking at like the money side of, if they close down and they owe manufacturers, they owe brands, it's just a bit of a shit show, and it's something that I'm sad to witness and see. So yes, I went to the Naomi Campbell exhibition, detailing her whole career, her whole life. It was at the V&A Museum. If those of you who are from the UK or are familiar with the V&A Museum, they have a massive fashion archive, and they put on some pretty decent exhibitions. In general, they do really good exhibitions, and their fashion exhibitions tend to be quite good. If you like fashion history, it's always good to go. So with this exhibition, I honestly was on the but I never really wanted to go, because I was like, I just don't really think that, even though Naomi Campbell is an amazing iconic model, I'm like, what would this exhibition be about? We don't really know much about her as a person. If the exhibition, because it was about the, black supermodels in general, then it would have a little bit more of, it would be a little bit more dynamic, because it was very one-dimensional for me. Because if I think about on a historical level, Naomi Campbell's what she's done has really only really been for her personal benefit first, and she hasn't really done a lot for others through her work. Like, for instance, you got Beth Ann Halderson, who created initiatives for black models to get work. She created the first black, I guess, what was the term, agency. There's Iman, who created her Iman Cosmetics, which was groundbreaking in the 90s. They've done really great things that were for others, for other people, that I personally feel like are great things to highlight. But Naomi Campbell's work has only really been self-serving. Yeah, that's my general gist of who she is as a person. From what I see, I don't know her at all. But so yes, the exhibition it was the best thing about the exhibition, if you want to go, is the fashion archives that you get to see. Because one of my main criticisms, and also the best thing about the exhibition, I'm playing around with that, but don't worry, is that it shows you, they've managed to find all of her most iconic pieces that she's worn down the runway for some of her most well-known brands that she's modeled for. And that's the best part of seeing the exhibition. But it's more attached to the art. So if you are a fashion fanatic, especially if you love 90s fashion, you get to see all of the amazing collections that she's worn down the runway, and that's generally all the exhibition focuses on. Again, we don't know much about her outside of her being a supermodel, and none of the work she's done, none of the charity work she's done, none of that has really been impactful for others. But it's just focusing on the amazing designers who she has worked with and their amazing creations. And it was great to see some of those pieces up close. And I will show you some footage and some pictures around me. The exhibition started going through a little bit about her beginnings, but again, we don't know much about her family life, we don't know much about her history, we don't know much about how she feels about anything, about who she is. So that's not really something that you can connect to on a human level. Yes, her amazing Vogue covers, they showed you her first Vogue cover. They showed you a reenactment of her dressing room in one of the hotels through Fashion Week, which was nice to see. One of the most amazing things that I think the exhibition did a massive disservice to was looking at the history of black models. They had one very tiny video screen showing you from the first black supermodel and all of these amazing women who have come and made their mark on the industry as a whole throughout all the various different adversities that are still going on, as we're seeing, in terms of inclusivity. And they kind of did a very small highlight of that, but I really want to see that whole concept in general being highlighted more so than just one person, because a lot of these ladies I didn't even know half of their names, especially the ones who came before in the 60s and 70s. I weren't familiar with anything that they've done in terms of any initiatives that they have done, so that would have been amazing to focus on the black models who have changed the face of the fashion industry. So outside of that, it was just a beautiful reenactment to see some amazing fashion pieces. This wonderful the one where she fell down the runway, I think it was Vivienne Westwood, so they had that whole piece there in a window frame gorge. They had the gorgeous Marilyn Monroe styled and Warhol dress that she wore for Versace, the amazing Alaya dresses and pieces that she's worn on the runway. Again, one of the other main highlights was Alaya, Hazard Alaya, and they kind of did a brief overview on their relationship, but nothing ever really delved deeply into her as a person, who she loved, who championed her, who were the people who would speak for her, who would advocate for her to be in these shows. There wasn't really much there. There wasn't much emotion behind any of this. But yes, the Alaya dresses, they had a massive section of all the pieces. I love that black bodysuit, catsuit, gorgeous. I've seen an Alaya exhibition at the Design Museum, and that was a while ago, and I really want there to be another modern retrospective because he's such a gorgeous, beautiful designer, and all of his collections from the past are just gorgeous. They had the bandage dress, they had the shoes that she's worn, the leopard print catsuit, they had that there. It was gorgeous to see. What other pieces that I thought were just divine? They've had, I think they did the Dolce & Gabbana dress that she wore when she left prison. They brought that out there, but they didn't even speak about like any of her. They just glossed over a lot of stuff and just focused on everything she's worn and was dressed in. So if you do love fashion, design and costume and just wanted to see these pieces up close, I would totally recommend definitely going. But if you have an expectation to just think you will walk away knowing who Naomi Campbell is, you won't. Like, if there was an exhibition for Kate Moss, there would be a lot there, because Kate Moss was an amazing iconic model, but there was always a lot that you got to see about her as a person too. Even though she didn't talk, she had a lot of public scandals, but there was a vulnerability to her persona, or what we've seen, that would make a very interesting exhibition too. But yeah, that's my take on that. Let me know in the comments if you've been and what you think.